Hey everybody, today we have Mikaylah McCarty, Scrum Master, Agile coach in our podcast. We're really excited to get to know about her background as a Scrum Master. She's an amazing coach in helping people become Scrum Masters and currently works as a Scrum Master at Universal. Welcome to the show today, Mikaylah. We would love to hear more about you and what you're up to.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here and to share a little bit about my story and my journey. So kind of like you said, I currently work at Universal Parks and Resorts. I am a Scrum Master in their, I'm a Scrum Master in marketing, but I actually work in the digital and technology department. So basically I run marketing operational teams there. And really I am someone that, somewhere they're trying to continue to aid the transformation of Scrum and Agile in a marketing world. And so I do a lot of coaching, a lot of spinning up of teams, and just really helping to standardize our Agile processes between all of our parks here in Orlando and our parks in Hollywood, as well as our two new ventures that will be in Las Vegas and Texas. So it's a very exciting time right now in the Agile world, especially a new venture into Agile marketing. And so that's kind of what I'm currently doing now, as well as doing a lot of coaching on the side to help people and clients become Scrum Masters.
Great. Mikaylah, what is a Scrum Master? Help us understand that role.
It's a really great question. So a Scrum Master is someone who oversees process on an Agile team. And basically what an Agile team is a team of cross-functional team members. So think of, we're not just a team of just teachers or a team of just soccer players. We are a goalie. We are a coach. We're a soccer player. We're an assistant. We are a team of a cross-functional in the sense that we can take a piece of work, such as making a pizza, even to switch analogies. And my team members can do one slice to make a full pie, and we can deliver it. So a cross-functional team is basically a team set up of different cross-functional departments to execute a single batch of work quickly to the customers. And then the Scrum Master's role, and that is just to oversee the process and make sure that we are delivering that pizza on time.
Yeah, great. And for the folks who are from the non-tech side, let's kind of speak from a value perspective. What kind of value does a Scrum Master add to the Agile team that you talked about?
That's a really great question. So on an Agile team, you have different members, obviously. So you have a product owner who their sole responsibility is to prioritize the work and they drive business value. So they are taking that work in from the stakeholders and saying, what in a long list of tasks, which is the most important for right now? A Scrum Master's role is to then take whatever they're prioritizing and say, how are we going to get it done? Product owner is the what in the team. The Scrum Masters are the how. That's the value that we provide to the team is, okay, they're saying we got to get this done. We have the team members ready to do the work. The Scrum Master will then say, this is how it's going to work.
Nice. Mikaylah, I'm curious. So on a week two, let's take a sprint in 2 weeks. What are things that Scrum Masters do, again, for folks who are kind of learning about the role for the first time? What are some things you do in a week to week or on a sprint for the team or outside of the team?
Yeah. So we currently run our sprints in 2 weeks. It's pretty much an industry standard. It's about like a 10 working day sprint. So basically within those 10 days, we have Scrum ceremonies. Within those Scrum ceremonies are basically 5 ceremonies to basically drive output for your team. So you have a backlog refinement session. That session is led by my product owner. I aid support to her in that session. And then we have sprint planning. And this will change per team, and every company is different. This is all self-determined within our team, how we lead these. And so, within those 2 weeks, we have sprint planning where we take everything prioritized in the backlog and we add that to the sprint. My role in that session as a Scrum Master, I lead that session based off of the priorities that my product owner sets. After we do the sprint, I pull metrics. So a lot of my week is spent sorting through metrics, coaching my team on story pointing and estimation and relative sizing. my goal of the team is to really make sure that we are taking in just the right amount of work for us, that we're not under delivering or over delivering, that we're actually doing what we can do. We are a capacity based team. So I monitor that by sorting through metrics and burn down charts and basically coming to the team and saying, like, this is in like building historical data. I think the biggest value that a Scrum Master can bring to a team is being able to give reality to expectations in the term of stakeholders and your partners. The stakeholder comes to me and says, can your team do this? I can give them an answer of a yes or a no. Yes, because we have room and capacity. I monitor that. Or no, because of this. I need to always have an answer to a yes or a no to my stakeholders. And that is really the main goal of a Scrum Master, is to protect the team and be that heat shield by communicating out for them. So, I do that with my metrics. I lead the daily stand-ups, which is not a status check-in meeting. It's really, how's the sprint going meeting? Do you have blockers? That drives straight into team retrospectives. I also like that as a Scrum Master, where we do a look back and say, how'd the last batch of work do? If we had 5 big batches of work carry over, we'll talk about why. Did we story point wrong? Where's our kinks? And then that will drive to our end of sprint demo, our showcase of work, where we basically then showcase our work. So, those are my role on the team in the Scrum Master, is to, one, schedule those sessions, make sure that they happen, make sure the team is showing up, make sure the team is participating, and then making sure that we are driving results out of every single meeting and tangible outputs, and that they're documented and saved and acted upon. So that's like 15 things, but that's a lot of hands in multiple buckets, but ultimately with the goal of driving results for your team, protecting your team, and, making sure that they're happy too. A happy team will do great work. So I'm here to keep the morale high as well.
100%. Yeah. I want to go back to your story, Mikaylah. When I connected with you, I was fascinated by your story of how you became a Scrum Master. So kind of give us from like right after college, like what did you do to go become a Scrum Master?
That's a great question. So I went to UCF. I am actually an interdisciplinary student, which basically means I did half business school, half communications, and my minor was leadership. Interdisciplinary at UCF is like 3 very different categories all coming together to make one big degree. So I was in that path. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I know that I loved communication. I know that I loved presenting. I thought I wanted to be a news broadcast anchor. And so I actually, when I was a junior in college, I was working at a media company doing just project coordination, different type of work. And I just one day was like, I don't know if this is for me. I don't know. When you're in college, it's a lot to try to figure out your path. And I actually Googled that day, like highest paying jobs in project management. And the first one that came up was technical project manager. And I was not technical. I did not take any technical classes. My technical skills went as far as maybe putting things into Excel. That was about it. Sure. But I was like, that sounds like pretty fascinating. Maybe I can do it. I ended up closing my laptop and going to the Starbucks down the street to start doing my homework. That day, I got approached by just like two older like businessmen in a non-creepy way, because I was watching my class, and they asked me what I was studying. And it was funny because earlier that day, I kind of made a pact with myself that the next person to ask me what I was going to do when I graduated, I was going to just tell them I was going to be a technical project manager, just for like the fun of it. I don't really believe in manifesting. I believe in working hard for what you want, but I just was like, I'm just going to start telling people that because no. And I got asked that question that day. And I whipped around and I said, I want to be a technical project manager.
Wow.
And he said, interesting. I own a software company, which is wild. The story is kind of like one in a million a little bit, because I own a software company. We're looking to hire someone who can run the front desk and just kind of like wants to learn about Scrum. And I was like, Scrum what? Wow. And he handed me his business card and said, come down and interview tomorrow, and I'll tell you all about it.
Wow.
And so I remember I went right back to the office, updated my resume and sent it to him. And, I know that like that story and that interaction is such a one in a million story, but I always love to emphasize the fact that you never know who you're talking to. Always be careful, but especially when you're in a business setting, you're at a networking event, to work the room and, really be bold and state what you want to people who are around you who might be listening. Everyone's always listening. Mm-hmm. And so that's like what I always love to emphasize about that story. You may not get approached with someone offering a job in a tech company in the sense that I was, but what he noticed in me was that I was very bold. I was quick to shake my hand. I was not shy. And those are some of the core personality traits that you need to be a successful Scrum Master. You kind of need to be able to command a room. Mm-hmm. So long story short, as a junior in college, locked myself up into an office, and it was a small software startup. They were creating a project management software. I didn't know anything he said in the interview, but I just shook my head like I understood. Like I was tracking, it did not understand anything. And he goes, he looked right through me. He goes, I know you don't understand any of this, but if you're willing to learn, I'm willing to teach you. Wow. And I was like, if you're willing to teach me, I'm willing to learn. Cheers.
Cheers, yes.
And he said, it's going to be a lot of hard work. And I said, okay, I'm not afraid of hard work. What I needed in that season was a mentor. I needed someone to invest in me. Again, that's what I like to drive home with my story personally is, if you don't have a mentor, you got to go out and find one. You need to invest in one. You need to search. You need to make connections, because there are people out there willing to put in effort into the next generation. I was so lucky to find one who invested in me. And that is a huge thing, especially when you're in college. And so basically I took the job. I started running their office, and I got subs for the developers and him every single day. I stocked the office with snacks. And in return, he allowed me to begin shadowing the meetings, taking notes. Yeah. I began to be a part of watching an active Scrum team. He put me in white room sessions, and, it was not easy. There are days I went home crying because I was like, this is too much. I would do my homework in college, and then on Sunday night, I would study to go do my job on Monday. I put in work in that season in a time where, Instagram was blowing up. Everyone was an Instagram model or influencer or something else. And I was like, should I be doing something else? But there was just something in me, and my mentor would remind me. He goes, one day he put 2 numbers up on a whiteboard. And he goes, if you go this route, you'll make this much. If you keep doing this, you'll make this much. And I was like, okay. And I just really felt it in my soul that I was in the right place, doing the right thing. And I knew it would pay off. Despite, kind of like almost dying in those 2 years of working. I wouldn't take anything back. It was the most transformative years of my entire life, working for that startup. And so that's a little bit how I got started.
Yeah. This is in senior year, right? Like you went through, you juggled the classes and you went to these meetings, you cried in some of the meetings, you had a lot to learn.
Cried in my car a ton.
Yes.
on my way to all-night study at UCF, because I had exams the next day.
Yeah. Wow. That's an awesome story. Yeah. And curious, like what kind of things was your mentor able to help you see in those years where you had no clue about technical stuff, like any of this? Like, what was the most helpful part?
So his biggest philosophy, his biggest thing that he wanted to teach us was having multiple tools in your tool belt. We were a small startup company, a team, and he would actively tell us almost every single day that no job is not your job. If there's a need, you fill it. If you don't know, go learn it. And so he was such a big advocate of learning the skills around you. listening in and never being like compartmentalizing, like, I don't do that, I'm a Scrum Master, or I don't do that, I'm a PO. We all helped each other. If one person was staying late, we all stayed late. There was one time he was like, where are you going? At 5:30, Victoria's still testing, go test with her. There was never a time where he ever let us off on not being a team player. And that was the biggest thing he probably ever taught me, was get down there with your team. If you don't know it, learn it. If all you can do is sit next to them and rub their back and give them a donut, like, do that. Supporting your team, never saying it's not my job, never saying you can't do it, and gaining as many skills in your tool belt as you can. I'm talking testing. I learned HTML testing. I learned how to create automated QA tests, back-end databases. He contracted me out to test for a client. I had never tested in a day of my life. And he goes, you better learn. So, he threw us to the fire, and it was either burn or rise up. And that's the biggest thing he taught all of us.
Wow. So 2 years in college, you do all these kind of, techie things, a little bit of facilitation, testing, learning how to work with the team. So you probably got some experience as a Scrum Master. Let's hear about, like, how do you use all of this and landed your another Scrum Master? Like, what was that process like after you graduated?
So it's very, very, very important to know that whenever you're becoming a Scrum Master, especially if you do not come from a technical field, you cannot lead what you do not understand. That's the biggest thing. So in my years of being an apprentice as a Scrum Master, that's what my boss taught me. You need to understand what they're doing. You need to understand what they're building. Otherwise, you will not have respect in this field. So that is really what I took in learning to test, to QA, to build code, to understand databases, to understand GitLab. I knew if I was going to lead a team of senior engineers, men, very much 15 years of working experience more than I better come and I better know my stuff, and I better be good, and I can't make mistakes. One mistake in this field, you're written off. And so I really took that very seriously. I made sure that I had my stuff together. When I was in a meeting, I was well prepared. I knew what I was going to say. I never winged it. I was always very, very prepared, because I knew that the odds were stacked against me. I knew that there were other Scrum Masters waiting to take my place. And so that was a huge thing that I took in, just knowing that the odds were stacked against me. I knew I was the only female on a team of 3 other Scrum Master men. I was, I was many times the only female in a call of all men, talking talking different Scrum things, of people leading database teams, all these other things that I knew I didn't know. So I knew that I always had to show up and be confident. And even if I did not know the answer to something, I knew how to communicate back a firm answer of saying, either I can look into that for you, I can find that out, I'll get that to you in 5 minutes. Like, knowing how to, you're never going to know everything ever. Still don't know everything. But having key knowledge of communicating effectively to be able to say, let me get back to you on that. That is how you can survive in this field. Because like I said, you're not going to know everything. But if, I never stood on a call and said, I don't know. Never. My boss would have killed me. So I think those are some of the things that I picked up along the way of that really helped me to not fake it till I make it. But, I have confidence in myself. I knew that I could, even if I said, yes, I'll get that report to you, I knew I can go find someone who could help me, so those are some of the core things. And then, with my company, we ended up selling the software company to our largest customer based out of Dallas, a large healthcare provider. And I then became a part of that team. We went through interview processes and they hired us on to lead those teams. And so that's where I transitioned out from the startup to a large enterprise level, safe, agile environment.
Nice. Yeah. Just to summarize, you kind of spoke a lot about, what you did, your mindset. I would love to have you summarize, like, soft skill wise, right? For people who are trying to transition, like, what are some soft skills and mindset people need to know if they want to compete and become a Scrum Master in an enterprise team?
So in any other team, you need to be a really clear and concise communicator. That is a skill that can be learned. But you need to be able to get your point across. You need to be able to, command a room when you need to. You're there to organize things. Yeah. You will deal with difficult people. You will deal with people saying, no, I'm not going to do that. You need to then figure out, how can I make them think it's their idea? How can I make them think that this idea I have, I know it's going to work. How do I twist it to make them see the value in it?
Yeah.
Any new team I ever approached as a Scrum Master, I approached it with, teach me your ways. How are you guys working? What's working for you guys? What do you guys want? How can I, as a Scrum Master, make your life easier? I'm here to make your life easier. That was always how I approached these new teams, in a sense of like building that trust with them, where they think like, oh, I can go to Mikaylah for this, or let me bounce that off of Mikaylah. Becoming that person that's a safe place, building those, soft skills is everything. Building those connections with them, where you spend the first 5 minutes talking about their life in a call. You, especially if you're going to work in a very technical field, you will find a lot of people who do not have soft skills. They will have wicked hard skills, code like a beast, but they may not know how to communicate. You as a Scrum Master need to bring that into your team. And so whether that is playing hangman for 5 minutes before you do your sprint retrospective, whether that's doing trivia, whether that is taking everyone into a room and actually standing up and doing a standing up together, standing up. It's really trying to build that connection with your team. Sometimes it feels like it's trying to find a needle out of a haystack. I'm telling you, it can be difficult, but I think those soft skills is everything between communicating, building relationships, and the most important, building trust.
Nice. And let's go to the hard skills. So, you kind of mentioned some things about hard skills and technical skills. So one question that we're asked a lot is, do you need to become a technical person in the beginning as a Scrum Master?
So when they say technical person, there's a lot to unpack in that, because it's like, what type of technical are you, right? So, a product owner isn't all the time technical in the sense of their coding or building or sorting through databases or their testing. Most of them will be just technical minded in the sense of they can look at an application and they can understand the flow. They can give work off to a development team and understand what they're building. A developer is technical in the sense of they are hands-on keyboard building code. I firmly believe that the technical skills a Scrum Master needs, if you are looking to join a software team, this is, Scrum Master's work. I work in a marketing team now. My technical skills are very different. But for my technical team, when I ran those teams, I needed to understand the technical skills will be very customized to really what your team is doing. So, if you guys are building an application to launch in a restaurant, you got to understand what you're building. Are we technical aspects? Like every single Scrum team is so different. But I think the biggest thing to know is, especially when you're approaching interviews, what type of company are you applying to? Are you applying to a fintech? Are you applying to a Scrum, like a new development team? Are they building features? Like, if you have to kind of understand like what that team is, and then you can, you need to understand kind of everyone's role in the Scrum team, which is difficult, but QAs test and build. I understand their process of like building test plans, regression testing, releasing. The other aspect is monitoring releases. I understand that process. So it's like you as a Scrum Master, that your technical skills is to understand the process of what your team is doing. I know I can't code, but I know the process of delivering code. You deliver the code, you combine it to a sandbox. The other people merge their code. It breaks each other. It tests, you give it to GitHub and you deploy it. I understand that process. And so it is understanding those technical skills that everyone else is doing, which can be difficult, especially joining a new team. But, as a Scrum Master, if you're coming into this industry, you need to understand who your partners are in this industry.
Yeah. So for you, so you understood, some of the foundations of, testing, working with the dev team a little bit, but still, like when you're going into like a large company, right? You probably didn't understand a lot of things. You just somehow convinced that, hey, I can learn these things. I have some of these base level foundation. I'm curious, like what kind of things did you do to learn and equip yourself on the technical things or working with stakeholders? What kind of things did you do in your first 90-day after you became a Scrum Master in that safe team that you're talking about?
I set up a ton of one-on-ones.
Yeah.
I would set up teams with people who knew what they were doing, people who I wanted to mimic what they were doing, either in the sense of building dashboards, building reports, building teams in Jira, how they report out their teams in Jira. I would just book one-on-one calls like it was my full-time job, because it was. I aligned myself with people who were smarter than I was, who knew what they were doing. And I sat on a phone call and I said, can you teach me? Yeah. Can you teach me? Can you teach me? Can you teach me? Can you teach me that? Yes. I did that. And I still do that to this day. Being curious is huge. And so that is really, I would sit on the calls with the development team. They have their development morning, daily check-ins. Mikaylah was there every morning at 8 a.m. because I wanted to see what they were doing. That's how I learned, by inserting myself into everyone's business.